Okay, so this will be more just about your stuff, I think. So how did you discover that you had it?
How did I discover that I had it? So yeah, I mean, I think for somebody to want, if you really want the full answer to that, then obviously listen to the last episode of this. But yeah, basically it pretty much, I guess, lived in me for about 20 years. And yeah, like I knew something was wrong for many of those years, but I didn't know what it was. So the specific moment of figuring out what it was through just seeing multiple practitioners like we just talked about. So I started with any kind of therapist or counselor I could get to because I just thought I was fucked. And then, you know, I took me probably about 5. And then I started seeing a common theme where people are like, oh, you know, that kind of sounds like dissociative disorder or complex PTSD. And after you get the same thing kind of recurring like a couple times, then I went and found some specialists, and then you know, I had 3 specialists, and I just couldn't afford paying for all 3 and going through, because you kind of have to go through multiple sessions in order to get your story out, in order to get a diagnosis type thing, or for them to like know. So yeah, I dropped 1 and then stuck with 2, and then went to both, and then finally both of them diagnosed me with both of those things. And that's yeah.
Okay. And then how often does it happen?
So before I knew what it was, I thought it only happened like, I don't know, 7 to 10 times. After I knew what it was and worked my way through my life and my experiences, phases of life, and when it would happen, probably closer to about 30 times.
Okay.
So yeah. How often totally depends on where I'm at. Like if I'm going through periods of high stress,
that would have been like a couple times a year, maybe.
Yeah, couple.
But maybe sometimes more so.
More of it was condensed between the ages of 13 and 17, 18, around there. So yeah, probably 20 or more of the episodes would have been in there. So a few times a year type thing. But then after that, there's been, you know, well, more than that. Yeah, more than a few times a year. And then there's been only a handful of episodes since.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people realize that when you think that, you know, once you realize you're kind of feeling, you'll always know you're kind of feeling something's off. And then once you start to dig into it, you'll think back and be like, holy shit, this was like,
this caused this, or this made me feel like this way.
Yeah, I've been feeling this for a long time, and then you'll start to open up and remember more stuff.
Yeah, like for me, it made sense. Like I was really quiet as a child, like in public, like really, really shy to the degree that sometimes I just wouldn't even fucking talk at all. And that's like a common thing of some of the traumas that I've been through.
Yeah.
Another one was just like this unknown anger. I was fucking angry, like super angry. And I just like had no reason in the world to be angry. And that also is a very common thing of some of the traumas. So
can you tell when it's happening?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's
yes and no.
Yes and no. When it happens, I experience basically you're basically I black out. I explain like these slivers where it's like best explained as a flashback, but when I come out of the blackout, that I remember, I get like an impression. So it's like I black out, there's no memory or anything. And then when I come to, it's like it lays this blanket over me. And I soak in this impression, and I just kind of have this knowing or feeling of what had happened during the blackout. Sometimes that includes visual and spatial awareness, which is those pieces of slivers where it's just like a quick flash. So that's why I don't really know whether I should describe it as a flashback, because the way I remember it is like watching a video. Like I know the order of how it happened. So it's not really like a random flashback, because I can kind of put it on a timeline, and it's almost like I know what it felt like in that moment. So,
but in the moment you don't know. It's not till after.
But in the moment I don't know. No, it's not like I'm sitting there. In some moments I may have known, like in really hardcore episodes, I completely black out. But in other episodes, like in some of the fights I've been in, it just kind of throws me in the back seat. And then there's like like a little window, and I'm just like, it's looking like I'm looking through it like this, like as if I'm 20 feet in the back of my head, and I'm looking through a little TV screen of myself doing shit. So in those moments, I'm sure I might have known, but it's not like you're thinking that.
You're not thinking about knowing it.
Yeah, like if it happened now, I might know because I know what it is. But at the time, I didn't know that I even had a disorder or anything at all, like anything mental.
Yeah, that's
going
true.
on.
I feel like